Welcome. I'm your host Stefano, and this is When Leaders Talk, a podcast about leadership and most importantly, about leaders. One of the aspects of leadership, or one of the approaches to leadership, if you want, is that you can lead by the team. What it means is that you don't lead because it's yourself, you're a leader, but because you have a team to lead. And you lead through them, and you lead in a way they feel part of the team, and they are part of the team, and you develop a kind of sense of ownership, if you want. One of the masters of this approach to leadership is Umberto Rossi. And Umberto has been the guest in this episode of When Leaders Talk. Umberto has a very interesting story. He was a former Air Force pilot, but not like a normal Air Force pilot, if there is any definition of normal Air Force pilot. He was a pilot and a commander, leader of the Italian demonstration team. It's called Frecce Tricolori. It's quite famous. And they do all these acrobatic and spectacular maneuvers in very special occasions. So to lead a special group like this, you need to be special yourself and you need to develop special skills. As a matter of fact, the pilots in the Frecce Tricolori are all very well skilled, and they are leaders themselves as well as followers. So we talk about it. We talk on how to create the alchemy that is needed in this group, the trust that you have on all the others member of the team, especially when you are in close formation and doing special maneuvers, and even a small mistake might cost the life of one or more people. Also, we talk about the transitioning from the military war to civilian war. What was easy for Umberto and what was challenging for him. Especially when you start talking to people, they don't have a uniform or a rank, so it's hard to understand where they're coming from, what's their background, what's their story. It's harder. And it surely is different from what military people are used to. We talk a lot about innovation and actually about artificial intelligence and how artificial intelligence is impacting every aspect of our life. And the company Umberto now works for, that is Leonardo, is one of the main industry companies in the defense sector in the world. So AI innovation is really something they do care. And Umberto expresses his own point of view on AI, also on a very personal level, in a daily life, on a day-to-day life. So we talk a lot more about leadership, and I don't want to spoil everything right now. Before I leave you to the episode, as always, you can follow me on social networks like LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, and also now on Thread, TikTok, and no more Twitter. Now it's called X. If you want more information about coaching that actually has been touched upon in this conversation, please go on masteryourc.com. And with no further ado, Umberto Rossi. Welcome Umberto. Umberto Rossi is a senior vice president from Leonardo, and I'm very happy to have you here today.
Thank you, Stefano. I'm also very pleased to be with you today.
And we and Umberto, we share something. I mean, we both come from the military. As you can see, I have the flag of the Italian Navy on my background. Umberto is a former Air Force pilot, and a special one because he was part of the demonstration squadron of the Italian Air Force. They're quite famous, I would say, Frecce Tricolori. And actually was also the leader and commander of the squadron, so had an important role. Until he transitioned to Leonardo, who is the main Italian industry in the defense sector. And so we will explore a few things during this interview, and especially the transition, what's the meaning of transition, and what did you take, what have you taken actually so far in terms of leadership, of course. So let me start with the usual question, that is, Umberto, do you have a definition of leadership? And if you do, will you share it with us?
Okay, well, Stefano, well, thank you for the introduction, and I'm glad that we shared a common military experience with the Italian Ministry of Defense. I don't have a very specific declination of leadership, but what I can say that I'm always inspired myself looking at the leadership through the team. So I would give a title as a leadership by the team, and probably that comes also from my experience that you just mentioned. I was a very lucky fighter pilot to be selected to the Italian demonstration team, Frecce Tricolori, where everybody in there is selected between those that already have skills and competence higher than the average, and you find yourself working with a number of professionals where each one in his way is a leader, but a combination of in this case 10 leaders generates a common leadership which is stronger than any leadership I believe that a single person can achieve. So by leadership, I would refer to this concept, to look a leader through his team. The person he selects for working with him, the process uses to run, to manage the organization or any other entity that is in the position to lead, and also the result that can be achieved through this process. And this is as a starting point for the discussion.
Yeah, it is a great starting point, actually. And you mentioned something very interesting. You know, the Frecce Tricolori is a squadron with great pilots. You know, they are selected, so they have to be great. And they also are leaders. And yet, there is one commander, right? One leader that is officially recognized. How do you create the alchemy within a team of super specialized, super skilled people?
Yeah. This is one of the biggest challenges you have in that squadron as a commander. So as a leader of that group of professionals, let's say that when you become commander of the Italian demonstration team, Frecce Tricolori, you are actually being before a member of the team. So, and between those components of the team, so those pilots, one of them is selected to be a leader. So there is a process behind it. So basically, the way you do it is you enter into this larger number of pilots, which usually have a higher seniority, a higher experience, and they already have demonstrated to have skills that you normally, when you enter in the team, you still have to achieve. Then through the operational activity, you learn the importance to live together and to share your experience with others to enhance the performance, your performance and the performance of the team. So once you go through this funnel, at the end of this funnel, learning and performing, you get the understanding that to share the competence and to put this capability with others is a real force of the team. So if you are selected as a team leader, team commander, as we said, only one is selected every 2 or 3 years between those 10 pilots. You have learned through the process to become from pilot, member of the team, a team leader. So this is really is the key of the result of this leadership within such a great Frecce Tricolori team.
Yeah, I mean, and as a demonstration team, you have to perform very dangerous maneuvers. So I guess what you really need is synergy more than everything, right? Like you need to be finely attuned with all the rest of the team, and everyone has to be finely attuned between themselves and you as a leader. What are the skills that you think made you the leader, the commander of the squadron, that allowed you to be, the head of this very special team?
Yeah, well, the first component I would spot is the trust. The trust each other to perform what you define as dangerous maneuvers. Obviously, there is a risk in that activity, which is related to the speed, aerobatics, the heights, and the fact that all the aircraft are working in a very tight formation and the low altitude. To trust each other in order to concentrate your performance on the display is one of the most important component that you have to demonstrate and select when you choose a new pilot in the team. Then, of course, as any performance, you have to study before the performance, you have to exercise, you have to look at your mistakes. We are human, we learn by mistakes, although those mistakes have a very little margin in this case. By mistake, we are referring to small details which make the team appear very very solid between each aircraft and the other, and also in a good geometry during the display. So when I say mistakes, I'm referring to no mistakes that may have wrong consequences. So trust, exercise, performance, and beyond that, I would say a lot of passion. The team employment, the team operation is very demanding. It's demanding as a professional because you have to fly several times a day, and you're often away from home. So it's a stress also for the family, not only for the pilot. It's difficult because to deploy a large number of aircraft require a very important level of logistics. And beyond all these components, I would say that you at the end are displaying in front of public and representing your own country. And this is, you feel it as a responsibility, a strong responsibility, because you're not just displaying an aircraft, but you're representing the know-how and the history and the capabilities of your own nation.
Yeah, so there is this big sense of pride, and it's true. I mean, in all the main events in Italy, we have the Frecce Tricolori performing, and it's amazing. And you say that you try to correct every single little mistake. I wonder if when you fly, and that's probably a personal question, are you always been very optimistic that everything was going to be well and great, or have you ever prepared yourself for not such a good scenario that in this case can be quite tragic, as we have seen in the past?
Yeah, well, leaving outside the tragic event, okay, let's say that each flight is different, and therefore there's no a baseline to refer for each flight. While you're in the air, you're flying at a speed of around 700, 800 kilometers per hour. So we're talking 300 to 400 knots. You are working under high accelerations. So the acceleration goes up to 6 to 7 Gs. So in that moment, while you're performing, your body will weigh up to 6 times the weight you normally have on the ground. So all your equipment, then also the helmet and the special jacket you wear, are also weighing up to 6, 7 times the normal weight. There is the formation, so the distance between the aircraft. So all these variables make each maneuver, each flight very different. So maybe the word optimistic is not the correct definition. Let's say that you know that you're doing something you are trained for, so you know you can achieve it. Okay. When you're up there, you have to be ready for variables that you might not be considered before the flight. As you know, as a military professional, when we operate, we always consider possible either emergencies or factors that might influence our performance. So in flight, this topic is enhanced, because you cannot stop the vehicle and check it. So you have to consider these before performing the activity. Therefore, when you start a flight, you are trained for. You do some also mental preparation. There are also mental coach for the team. This mental coaching is a new discipline. It's been introduced 3 years because it's very effective and has increased. And I know I'm talking someone that is doing this as a profession. And therefore, the preparation on possible events that might happen during the flight will bring confidence that the flight will be good. And so that's the approach we have to perform at such a level of display performances.
Yeah, and while you were talking, I came to my mind. I've been in a different situation, different scenario. I've never been a pilot, so for me it's hard to understand what a 6G, 7G acceleration means. And yet, I've been in situation in which there was kind of really the risk of life, especially when I was in Afghanistan. Every time we were out of the base, with all the preparation and training and you go through, because you have to prepare yourself. But when I was in the car, in the moment, in my mind, I was often repeating myself, all the procedures, just, okay, everything is going to be fine, but just in case, prepare yourself. This is what you have to do. This is what could happen or not happen. And this actually worked well, because actually I relaxed myself. For me, it was relaxing, knowing that I had the knowledge and to react in a situation like that was powerful for me. I didn't have a mental coach though at the time, so that's why I became a coach, not a mental coach, but still a coach. Well, and I guess all this training you went through, all these experiences you had were useful also when you transition to a civilian career, right? What is the most important lesson you have learned and you brought and that you still using actually in Leonardo?
Well, this is a good point in transitioning from the military service to an industry. As you mentioned before, my transition was into the defense company. So in a certain way, I was partially in a comfort zone. So not a jump in a black hole, but a smooth transition into an organization which works differently, but with the similar principles. Let's say that the major message that I brought it from the military to the industry was, first of all, that there is always a target to achieve, and in the industry, like in the military, is different in other profession, but in the military, this target is measurable. So measurable in terms of level of performance and results, and also measurable in terms of timing. You know, you have a deadline to. So in the military, this is very common. It's very clear what is your aim. It's very clear how much time you have. How much time do you have to achieve it, and this is usually is part of your career. Of course, there are experiences and events which are not like that. Okay, you mentioned Afghanistan. I'm sure in Afghanistan, not every day the targets and the aim was perfectly clear, but also because the external variables, you know, they might change completely the scenario.
Oh, yeah.
But this is in general terms, you know, you have clear the organization, you clear the objectives, and the timeline you have. So this was very helpful in moving into the industrial environment. The second part what was helpful is the fact as in the military, you work with resources which are human and economical, and you learn to work on the level that is permitted by the position I have occupied through my military career. There's a similar approach in the industry, with a little difference that you have more flexibility. While in the military experience, the resources in terms of human and the economical resources are fixed, sometimes by rules, if not by law. In the industry, there is more flexibility to manage these two components, so human resources and economic resources, to achieve your target. But anyhow, the fact that you were moving in a constrained environment in military make it easier to work in the industry because of the flexibility. And I would refer these as the major pillars that help me to move into the industrial. Something was unprepared for in the military. You are classified by rank, by experience. And when you look at one of your colleagues, you know exactly his background, where he's coming from, his performances. Okay, in the industry is different. You know, there are no uniform, no ranks, and every day you have to concur your reliability and credibility to maintain your skills and also your position. Like for this last part, I was not prepared. You meet a lot of people, you don't know where they are from, you don't know what are their achievements, their seniority. Of course, by time you learn, but this was one of the most particular difficulty I found in my position. Plus, we have to consider that the introduction of technology, so like Zoom we are using now, WebEx, other means of communication have reduced the contact. So this has emphasized the issue because, you know, in the past, after a meeting, in front of a coffee, you discuss, hi, where are you from? What you're doing, where your family, and you could collect some information useful, to
Yeah, it's
really,
establishing a relationship that goes
yeah,
beyond the pure work, right? So
yes, yeah,
you get to know the person, the human
yeah,
being,
yeah,
much
yeah.
better.
So for this part, as I said, I was not prepared, but by time I learned to manage it. So when you start a professional relation in the industry, I'm talking now industry to industry, there is a time that where you have to learn your counterpart, and in order to achieve the best out of the relation. But then, as a defense company, when we move to our customer, which are governments and defense forces, you find again that clarity on your counterpart, which helps also in the relation. And my background helped me to interact because of the language I use and the way you also you're acting in front of them, the respect of the rank, the respect of the position they hold, and the experience they have achieved.
Oh yeah, there is a lot to unpack of what you just said, And first of all, you burned one of my questions. I was thinking of is like the difficulties that you had, other than the challenges in transitioning from military to civilian. But the other thing you said was very interesting. Is there are actually two things. The first one is related to what now is called remote working, right? So this. As you mentioned, now we can use Zoom or WebEx or many other technologies. And many companies, I don't know, Leonardo, many companies are using either a totally remote working approach, or hybrid, more hybrid. So like 2-3 days in office and the rest at home.
Yeah.
How do you? I don't know how Leonardo works, but I'm sure that when you went through pandemic, you had to deal with remote working. What did you use to create to be sure to make the teamwork effective despite the lack of the coffee break to get to know each other, or the constant interactions that you can have when you share the same space?
Yes, of course, Leonardo, during the COVID, and then also afterward the COVID, we moved from a completely remote work during the COVID as an obligation for the rules that were set, to an hybrid model. But beyond that, consider that Leonardo having 55,000 employees spread outside also Europe and Italy. This model sometimes must be used regardless the COVID or other factors that are brought to the hybrid model. Let's say that through my experience, you have to dedicate an initial time of your WebEx or Zoom meeting to get acquainted with one another, okay? To talk about general topics, starting usually from the weather and what is like in your country at the moment, if you know some news that are related to your counterpart.
That's what we did actually before connecting.
Yeah,
before
that's
starting.
what we did. Yeah. But we did it spontaneously, but in reality, it's very helpful. You realize that in front of you have a human being and not just a guy with a title.
Yeah, right.
And that everybody enjoys life also outside the business. So this is the way to help to build each other trust in order to make the meeting very profitable.
And okay, and that makes sense. I mean, that you create as actually we did spontaneously, as you said. We started talking about weather. I'm in Washington, you're in Rome, so there are differences, but it's summer, and it's a nice way. Just you can talk about football if you're into football or whatever, and it's really nice to get to know the person, as I said earlier, right beyond the work, or in this case, the interview, and you create a connection.
Yeah.
You create a relationship that has a meaning other than work, other than doing the interview, or having some business to carry on, or these kind of things. The other thing that is very interesting that you mentioned even now is that Leonardo is spread all around the world, right? 55,000 people coming from different countries, different continents, different cultures. How do you deal when you deal with people that have a complete different approach to life and work and business than you?
Yeah. But of course, it's not an easy task. Let's say that the one of the effort that the company has introduced is to the concept of one family and one company. So although there are diversity, there are different origins, as you mentioned, the nationality, color of skin, and the religious differences. There is a lot of effort to bring these to a single family attitude. Therefore, we start to see the differences as an asset and not as a limit. And in fact, this is very effective, because sharing our let's say habits and experience is enriching for each of us. Of course, this is not a common task, because it requires a lot of communication besides the professional activity. So there are either podcasts or courses or events where you ask people to join, so in person or digitally, in order just to make team building, emphasizing that the differences, as we said before, are assets and not limitations. Of course, then each capability, referring to person, okay, are used according to which one is your potential customer or the nation you're visiting. So to work in Europe is different to work in Asia or Middle East or African countries or South America. So where each one of them has a way to work and communicate very different. It's not only a matter of language, it's a matter also of habit, respecting the way they make decisions, so they build processes to procure systems or products that, for example, Leonardo can provide them with. So having this differentiate origin of objectives is also a way to optimize the effort according to the target and the objective you want to reach during the year, or anyway during the promotion of the company.
Well, and I love what you just said, because diversity is really something that will allow you to access to different ideas. So as you said, is an asset, is not a challenge, is not a problem. I really like that. And diversity is also important, especially if companies like Leonardo is very open to innovation. And of course, Leonardo has to be quite innovative in their own field. And this actually introduced another topic that is very dear to me, and is the innovation, especially artificial intelligence. I don't know if you have the opportunity to use artificial intelligence in your work, but if you do, what's your approach to it, and how do you think artificial intelligence is impacting and will actually impact leaders and leadership?
Well, let's say that as in my position, in my role, I'm not using artificial intelligence in the full capability. Okay, there are some tools also we use for our activity, which use somehow the AI. But for sure, what we are doing, we are developing artificial intelligence, machine learning, and autonomous operations all together in order to bring our product and system to a higher level of capabilities. Of course, when you work over these three components, so artificial intelligence, machine learning, and autonomous operations to reduce the risk of human exposed to risks. You enter in the development of new capabilities, which are obviously competitive sensitive for each company, and competitive sensitive to those newcomers competitors, which come from some countries of the world that usually were not players in the defense market. So going to your question, back to your question, we partially use everyday activity the artificial intelligence, but we do a lot of research and development over the artificial intelligence. Although it is a topic still under assessment, because many observers think that the artificial intelligence is not yet well defined, either in limitations or origins of the information used by artificial intelligence, and the effect they produce over the time, introducing that capability in any component of subsystem.
Yeah, and actually there are a lot of people that are quite worried about artificial intelligence, and the impact that it could have on all of us, the humans. And among those, even Elon Musk, even and other who signed a letter a few months ago, because there is a lack of governance right now. There's a lot of developing and a lot of companies developing tools, but no one actually regulating those tools. And in a sector like the defense is even more crucial, right? Because I guess when you talk about developing AI for Leonardo, it also means including AI in the defense systems, and that's really opens to a lot of possible scenarios, if you want, and liability and responsibilities and everything that has to be understood, as you mentioned, understood better. Are you worried by AI on a personal level?
Under personal perspective, the way now is provided publicly, a little bit, yes. If I see my children to face and use AI in the way it is now, where it's not clear who is behind the tool and what is the database where it picks the decisions to provide a response. Yes, I'm worried. But let's say that there is not a real definition for artificial intelligence. Let's say that in the defense, what we are doing now, we are bringing in technical algorithm, which can be managed very quickly and provide solution options for the decision makers. Okay. But the artificial intelligence is pushing to bring ethical and emotions into the result of a reaction to a question or to an event. And this is the critical factor that is unclear. So normally, for a human being, it can manage a number of decision or algorithm, mental algorithm. Now with the new computers, you can answer to billion this number of decisions. So now the artificial intelligence has the capability to manage 1 million of algorithms in a very short time. Imagine also when you do now a book, if you want to read a book, you don't need to read a book. You ask the chat GPT to provide you, a short resume of the book, and it will give you in a number of seconds. And it can decide if the book is of interest for you or not.
And actually, I used it. I used it like you said. I was interested in a book, and I say, "Hey, what's in the book? Can you summarize the book?" Yeah, and actually, exactly. Yeah, it does. It does.
It is helpful. It is helpful.
It is helpful. And,
also book I've read in the past, which somehow start to forgetting the book and the title, and then it's good to refresh also books that you've read. And so that part of artificial intelligence is positive. But when it start to provide the single options, which behind have received a number of variables which are controlled by external, computers, people, then is enter into an X file option, which not yet fully explored. So yes, in somehow personally, as Umberto Rossi, I'm a little bit concerned. Although I use it, I consider myself an experienced person. But again, going back to young people, imagine a teenager going to ChatGPT and asking for advice, how should behave when he goes out with a boyfriend or girlfriend, or what type of clothes should wear, if he in a trip, it's uncontrollable.
Well, it's a tool. It's uncontrollable. That's true. It's a tool. If you think about it, you just make actually an interesting case. Let's say I wanna go on a mountain. I've never been on a mountain, so instead of googling up, the best outfit for hike on a mountain, I just ask ChatGPT and will give me a quite comprehensive list, I'm sure, of things. So that's very useful. But like everything, like humans, it can bias. You can have bias due to, and that's I think the main concern, as you mentioned earlier. You don't know what's behind the ChatGPT or the artificial intelligence in general. Why we do know actually, but we don't know the algorithm. That's the main concern. That's the problem, for example, with autonomous vehicles, right? You don't know how they would react in very specific situations when there is a choice to make.
Yeah,
I think the famous train example, the exercise with the train, it's probably one of the most used. Do you think that AI will replace leaders as well? I'm sure not in the next couple of years, but in the long run.
Well, difficult to say. Let's say maybe in a technical field, technical process, AI could probably gradually, but can replace the leader. They're talking, for example, you mentioned the autonomous operation of a car, and soon also aircraft or ships. This is a typical example where in the car, the leader is the driver, in the aircraft is one or two pilots. On the ships, there is a team, commanding, depending on the size, of course. They are leaders of that system. So in some technical application, probably yes. But when you have to manage human resources or critical infrastructures, I think the leader will be still necessary. One of the limitations with AI, the AI doesn't know who's asking the question, going back to everyday use, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And what the use of the information you will provide to that person. So there is completely unresponsibility, non-responsibility over the information provided. And that is the portion of the gray area where say there are not yet rules to positively manage the level of information, the reliability of it, and the effect of it over the people. This is something which will require a lot of time.
Right. So we still win on the soft skills, on the empathy, on the emotional intelligence, and feelings and emotions in general. You know, the connection. And I know, for example, I know that some companies are, even in coaching, they're experimenting some AI, you know, that I'm sure it will be good for some basic issues like, I don't know, time management. But, you know, if I had to choose a coach, I still want to establish a connection. Coaching is all about relationships, for example. So I will surely prefer a human with all the defects and problems and weaknesses and strengths of a human than an AI, because it's so intimate. And there are professions that can be even a doctor. You know, I'm sure a surgeon can be at some point would be replaced by AI, probably by some robot or something. But what you as a human, when you go into a hospital or to see a doctor, you want to talk to a human person. You want to look at the face of someone telling you. They will tell you, will give you news, hopefully not bad news, but still with some feeling, with some emotion, not just cold. Well, that's okay. Let's change in topic, but staying actually on not that far away from this. I don't know how I connected this to the next question, but it came to my mind. Talking about humans, you know, you have a great experience and you've done a lot in your life when you were in the Air Force, and now that you're a Leonardo. Have you ever been inspired by someone? Do you have like a role model?
Yeah, many people inspire me. Either in the military, either some colleagues or commanders, and in the industry, some professional which I've interacted with have inspired me. Yes. To be inspired, the big lesson that at the same time you can inspire someone else. You know, and this goes also in one of the qualities the leader should have, you know, should inspire people. So the fact you can be inspired by others is a way to understand that that can be done also from your side to those you are leading or you're interacting with. So yes, I've been several times inspired. I continue inspiring myself in experiences I'm able to take or people I meet. Let's say that when you travel a lot around the world, in my case, most for business, you see so many different people that, and the way they express their thoughts or they interact with you are really surprising. And you say, oh, wow, I never thought you never met him, and you already, you know, provided me with such a feelings. So this is an inspirational event. So yes, I continue inspiring. I think it's a good attitude also for any leader, any person in general, but for a leader in particular.
Do you have a role model, someone you really look at and say, I would like to be as close as I can, like this person?
Well, no, not really. Not really. I've learned, you know, when I was young, I had a model. You know, I thought that I should behave in a certain way with my colleagues or friends in terms of career. So I imagine that there existed a sort of rail where you were lined up and to follow. Okay. By the experience, I've understood there is no specific model. You have to adapt your model according to the environment you work or you live with. An example is, to simplify, with a change of seasons. So you are in a continental city, you change your clothes, you change the temperature in your house, in your car, and that shows that you adapt continuously. So I used to have a model, but now I understood the power to be flexible and without losing, of course, some pillars, like to be loyal, honest, to have a strong mindset, and to be emotionally intelligent, to be involved with emotions. By flexibility, I don't mean to change completely the way you behave or you act, but I'm saying that you have to be open to see the indicators and adapt your, let's say in this case, leadership to the environment you are interacting with. And this is has been one of the biggest lessons through my experience in maturing through age. This is an incredible fact, and therefore I would consider that's one of the attitude that maybe we have to list later on what leaders should have.
Yeah, adaptability is surely a key factor, and I like to mention every time that how adaptability is the one thing that allowed the human species to evolve and to survive to different situations, and when other species, other humanoids were actually they were not able to do, and then they disappear with time. Even though when you're talking about changing clothes or using like air conditioning in the summer, probably that's more resisting to the weather change, and then there's not much of that adaptability. But actually, you try to preserve yourself.
No, of course, yes. But to obtain a result, the result is to continue to perform.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be in a comfort. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then that's an interesting point. So adaptability. What else? What else do you think is a key factor in a leader?
One point which I believed a lot is to learn to lead yourself. To give you a discipline. If you know how to lead yourself, which means to try to find a clear picture in the direction you want to go. Now you took a very big change in your life, and to have a light to aim to is very important. Because if you can lead yourself, you can, let's say, be a reliable source of inspiration to your team, and therefore can be also a way that you train your team to learn the same approach. Another important.
Can I? I'm sorry to interrupt, because leading yourself, I think is very important. You cannot lead others if you don't know how to lead yourself. That's one of the things that I keep repeating many times. But I want to go more into the detail of this concept. What does it really mean to lead yourself? What does it imply, leading yourself? You mentioned discipline. Is that enough just to be have a strong willpower, or do you need something else?
In this concept, it goes the auto motivation. To motivate yourself continue to be a stable reference for your team. to build also self-awareness on what is your role, to avoid distractions, to avoid delays which are not planned or necessary. And so these three parameters not only to have a clear picture, but also to learn from what you're doing, the awareness of what's happening around you, are a concept that allow you to lead yourself. Then, of course, there is preparation. If you have an important meeting, you prepare yourself for the meeting. But that is because we're talking about the concept of leading your processes, your behavior, your processes, your attitude.
Right. And self-awareness, yes, I totally agree. Is really the starting point to have success in life, and then it brings a lot. It has a deep meaning. At least for me, it's not just knowing what's happening inside of you, around you, but it's much more than that. It's knowing where you're going, knowing why you're going that direction, knowing your emotions. You mentioned the emotional intelligence, for example. It's a part of it. Well, Umberto, we have time for the last question. That is, then you have a great experience in leadership, as a leader, as a follower. You have experience in the military. You have experience in a civilian world, in a different business, and you have experience as a person, in your life. What is the suggestion that you will give to aspiring leaders? Someone who comes to you and say, Umberto, I want to be a great leader like you've been. What should
thank you for the great leader. I often consider that there are always a margin of improving. So
I didn't say the best leader. I said great.
Thank you. Yes, I have some, let's say, some tips, some advice. One of them, first of all, is also seek for feedback from up. So from if you have a leader on top of you, or down to your employees or members of the team, and across between other leaders. To seek for feedback helps you to improve your performance. That's something also I learned through life. When I was young, I thought my ideas were right, and I try to avoid to implement other ideas. Instead, now I learned the ideas that I can collect, again, from all levels, from up, down, and across, are one of the biggest value to improve your know-how and then make better decisions. Another point is to be open to new ideas. I have to tell you something to explain better this. In my career, I've never done what I wanted to do. Since I entered into the academy and for the Air Force Academy, which I didn't want to do at the beginning, to the entire my positions and life decisions always were different what I planned, what I thought is supposed to be. So now, after many years, I learned that it's better to be open and to see what the world of people or events are offering to you. So to be open to new ideas doesn't mean that you have to comply with it, but at least you have an additional options for your final decision. So this to be open to new ideas, I think, is an important factor. Another advice I would like to do is to push yourself outside the comfort zone. Through experience, we find a very solid comfort zone where we can move very agilely. And and also having a comfort zone, you try to remain in the comfort zone in order to reduce the amount of decision you have to take different from what you used to for. So to go out of comfort zone is very difficult. I believe that it's a natural reaction to stay in the comfort zone. This happens in everyday life, you know, from the same shop you go to buy your grocery, or the people has to fix your car, or the airlines to fly with, you know. For example, I like to fly with Lufthansa. I don't know why, but it's a comfort zone. But then when I flew with others, I realized that that either better or they surprise me positively. So that's another advice I feel to give to leaders or colleagues of mine for better performance. When you're a leader, you have a team. I believe a lot in the team. Again, so the leader expresses himself through the team and not as a leader himself. You know, it's very important to pay attention on the team dynamics. Each member of the team has expectation, an history, experience, ambitions which they want to pursue, and sometimes those components that may generate conflicts between the team leaders, the team members. So you have to pay attention when there are a critical situation between people. That's, for example, going back into my experience in the aerobatic team, to see if one of the pilots on that day had a strange behavior was an indicator behind that there was a problem maybe with his family or other type of personal or problem, and therefore that had an influence also on the team performance. So this is something you have to do. It is time consuming, you know, because usually as a leader you don't want to have any issue. You want to just go straight to the point, as you know.
Too easy. That's too easy.
And then also at the end of the day, you have to measure the performance of your team in order to give them a feedback and let them enhance their role in the team, and as a step to become leaders in the future. So I would say that these are the advice I feel to provide to future leaders. Existing leaders, I mean, not future.
Well, you know, I'm sure that even new leaders someone who wants to be a leader will appreciate this advice, actually, and I like them all. You know, the feedback, the being open, the care about the team, deal with the team, and just lead by the team.
Yeah.
That's it's something very important, you know. Also, because you said, you know, if something is going on with a pilot, in your case with a pilot, you need to spend time on it. You need empathy to understand it. First of all, you need to it takes time to talk to people and to go beyond the words. You know, some of us might have some problem in opening up. You know, they don't wanna. They're either introvert or just they don't like to express personal issues. So you need to be good at that. You need to be good at understanding what's behind.
Of course. Excuse me if I interrupt you, but
sure.
Of course there are, let's say, skills or qualities that you have to have as a leader. You know, but sometimes most of them are part of your personality. You know, like you said, the empathy. I can see colleagues, they have no empathy, they don't make any effort, although they understand. They say, I'm not empathic. I know it's important, but I cannot be empathic. You know,
being open to growth, as you mentioned earlier, is another thing.
So you can bring in, you know, bravery, curiosity, or creativity, loyalty. There are other qualities that for sure we didn't mention, but are very important. But let's say that are ingredients which are part of the person before he's selected as a leader. Okay. Then as a leader, you have to start to build on yourself. And that's what we meant by some advice, something that you can work on it. You can modify through experiences, through mistakes, sometimes through mistakes.
And that's all well said. So, Umberto, thank you very, very much for having me with us. It's been a pleasure talking to you, talking about leadership and personal experiences with you. And you brought a lot on the table, and I really appreciated your contribution to this conversation that I'm having with people like you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stefano. It's been a pleasure for me too. It's a great experience for me to see you as a Navy officer to get this challenge in your life in a new country. Although you've been living for a while and for a time in the United States, I'm sure it's full of challenges. To talk in this way is a very good model, this podcast, to discuss open about topics and stimulate each other, over the questions. And thank you very much for your time, and good luck, all the best for your future career.
Thank you.